Hi guys, thanks for all the questions and now I shall try and answer them in chronological order, starting with Replica 7 and his question about my favorite car to look at, my favorite car to drive, my favorite fictional car, and most importantly, my favorite kind of cheese to put on pasta. Well, obviously Parmesan, duh. My favorite car to look at as of recently, BMW i8. And that would also be my favorite car to drive in the recent days. I've recorded the review, it's waiting for editing, I'll post it in about 2 weeks, and it just blew my mind. My favorite fictional car, well, okay, so there was a time I read John Grisham's novels, and in these novels there were subs, 900s, yeah. That was the time that I wanted to become a lawyer and drive a Saab 900. Since then, I dropped the Saab 900 dream, and I don't know, if you want to talk about fictional cars, when I was a kid I used to draw something like that. I think it looks like a Mercedes which is up a tree. So that's also a fictional car, I guess. Okay, next question. Horatio Tolatop. What is the car you own and what were the reasons behind that choice? Well, I own an MX-5, Mazda MX-5. At some stage, a couple of years in doing what I do, which is automotive journalism, let's say, I decided I don't need my two hatchbacks because they spend most of the time in the garage, as in the place where I keep the car rather than the place where they fix your car. Although, because they were in the garage, they would spend a lot of time in the other garage, the repair shop. So me and my girlfriend decided to sell the two hatchbacks and buy something that we would like to drive, that we would enjoy driving. And we bought a Mazda MX-5. Basically, the idea was that when I finish testing a car, when I give the test car back, I would like to have a car that makes me smile when I drive it, and Mazda MX-5 does that job brilliantly. Okay, there is a question from Titus22 about Honda motorcycle NC750 XDCT. Is it available on a Honda motorcycle dealer? Yeah, I mean, they're available in Poland if you go to Honda PL, and there's a whole dealers list. I'll just post the link for you down there. You would have to call them, I guess. Are you a fanboy of any particular brand? Asks Mr. Pisk. What was your first car and what is your dream car? My first car... Okay, fanboy. No, I'm not a fanboy of any particular brand. I like certain cars, or maybe certain look of cars. Recently I looked at some 911s, and I looked at the configurator on the Porsche web page, and basically I realized that I would rather have one of those Porsches by Zinger. The guy in the US who does your sort of perfect Porsche with bits and pieces from all generations to make it look and feel like the best Porsche in the world. I think this is what I would like. But no particular brand, I guess. I like some stuff from BMWs, I like some stuff from, gosh, old American cars even. Speaking of old American cars, yeah, that was my first car. Well, it's old now. It was a 1990 Lincoln Mark 7 LSC. And what is my dream car? At the moment, that would be a BMW i8. As I said, a review of this car in about 2 weeks. Billy No Mates, 1974. Where did you learn English? In the United Arab Emirates. What did you do before making this channel? I worked at a radio station. What is the best car overall so far you have reviewed? Oh, that's a tough one because there are many cars which were good for many reasons. There isn't the best car. I mean, if we say that the best car is what I own, that would be a Mazda MX-5, but let's face it, it's not the best car out there. It's a very good car, but there are other cars that are better for different things. So Okay, I love the roller, the Phantom Coupe. I mean, that was a brilliant car. It was like a sitting inside this car. You're sitting. It's like being in a very old car, but at the same time there are little modern touches, like this kind of James Bond style turning. The clock turns to expose the sat nav screen. The controls are also hidden somewhere in the armrest, and the steering wheel, it's huge, but at the same time very thin and almost vertical. You feel like you're in a car from the 30s with some very special options. So yeah, that was a brilliant car. Sometimes, let's see, well, I love the Mercedes SLS AMG, the Gullwing rather than the coupe, rather than the Cabrio Roadster, whatever it's called. I love the theater. So it's hard to say which was the best. Ford Fiesta ST, brilliant car, brilliant car. Hard to say, really. What is the worst car you have reviewed? Well, that wouldn't be that difficult, and that would be the previous generation's Chevrolet Aveo. I don't think you have it in all markets, even not across Europe. So anyway, Chevrolet Aveo, previous generation, it was a terrible car. It didn't accelerate, but that was good actually, because it didn't have any brakes. The steering was woolly at best. I mean, you would the wheel was huge, like in a Rolls Royce. You turn the wheel, you waited, and then you found yourself 3 lanes further on to the left or to the right. Then you turn the other side, and off it would go the other way. Terrible car. The only good thing about that car was the washer fluid dispenser on the rear window. Interestingly enough, basically it was the nozzle was mounted on the wiper, so it would distribute the washer fluid evenly across the rear window, which was very important. This was a hatchback, and I drove it in winter or late autumn, so there was a lot of muck on the road. So it cleaned it brilliantly. Interestingly enough, Mercedes introduced, well, a much better version of this solution in the recent, it's a couple of years old now, in the SL, where you have little holes across the wiper, well, the front wiper obviously, so you get washer fluid distributed evenly across the whole windscreen. So yeah, I saw it first in a Chevrolet Aveo previous generation. Must have been, oh gosh, 5-6 years ago, something like that. Van Hakaveri. What car do you have? MX-5. Can you review some pickup trucks for the F-150, Dodge Ram, etc.? Well, we don't have those in Poland, unfortunately. They're not particularly popular in Europe, I guess. The biggest pickups we have is a Toyota Hilux, Mitsubishi, what's it called, L200, terrible car, despite it winning awards all over the place, and Nissan Navara. They were popular at some stage in Poland due to VAT, company tax deductions things, but they're not popular anymore because the regulations changed and you can now have a normal company car. You don't have to pretend that you're driving a pickup or a delivery van to have a company car. People used to do that. What we had was, there was like this kind of grill you had to install inside your car to divide the cargo space from the passenger compartment. It was ridiculous because it actually made the car less practical, because you couldn't, for example, unfold the seats to have the full cargo space, but you would get 22% off VAT from the purchase price and from the price of fuel. That changed. Pickup trucks were great because you could get full deduction, whatever. Complicated stuff, it's not there anymore. Pickup trucks, no, we don't have them. What camera do you use? I'm filming from a Lumix GH3. That's the camera I use as my main camera, and as my other sort of backup camera, or for the close-ups outside, that's a GoPro Hero 2. I'm hoping to change it for a GoPro Hero 4 4K, but it's another investment I have to make, and I have to make it wisely. is asking whether I'm the little kid from the old Top Gear about Poland from 1983. No, I'm not that little kid, but I was probably, well, I am probably of the same age, more or less. I'm 1978. So, yeah, I would be about 5 or 6 at that time. Which of the Eastern European cars would you have bought in 1983? Well, we had 2 Fiats, well, actually one, we sold it later. I had 2 Fiats later. A Polski Fiat 126. So that was a sort of Polish Mini, the car that got Poles on the road. So I had that. And of course, much later, that was 97, 98. And I probably wouldn't have bought anything from that lot. Not a Lada, not a Skoda, not a, what else was there? A Polonaise, and I don't remember what was the fourth one. I would probably get a Polski Fiat 125. But I wouldn't get the 1500cc one, but the 1300cc, which was much older, and it looked very old school. And yeah, that was one of those. It had the gear shift at the steering column, and the horn wasn't a little button in the middle, but this kind of wire running down in the middle of the steering wheel. It was really old school, really cool, and they're quite expensive these days in Poland because, well, they're classics now. So that's the car I would probably get. By the way, they're all terrible to drive. Jeliko Tesic sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but I suppose it is Jeliko, isn't it? Is Passat CC TDI best second-hand buy? I don't know. Why would you want a four-door coupe? Jozo Malacki. What car would you buy if you had an infinite budget? Rule: it has to be your only car for all the driving. If it has to be my only car for all the driving, then I would probably have to get one of these crossover SUV sporty kind of things, and perhaps it would be a BMW X6. No, I don't want it to be a BMW X6 because they spoiled the new BMW X6. It looks soft. I prefer the old one. Maybe the Mercedes, what is it, GLE that's coming out right now? Maybe that would be the answer. But yeah, that's sort of realistically speaking. I mean, I don't expect Lamborghini to make that crossover four-wheel drive anytime soon. What was it, Urraco? So yeah, probably Mercedes-Benz GLE or BMW X6, and I'm ashamed to admit it. That's why I would rather have a couple of cars. Have you ever thought of moving to America or Canada? No, not really, but I know it would be much nicer for filming over there. Nitric Uberstrike, can you give me a car? Sorry, mate, I can't. Rob Booth Automotive, how does a starter amateur car review get press cars? Well, I'm not the best person to ask because I started as a radio journalist, and when you have some sort of a big institution standing behind you, whether it's a magazine or a radio or a television station, it's much easier. Actually, they called me first and asked me whether I would like some cars. Yeah, sure I would. But I know a couple of guys, YouTubers from Poland, who started on their own, completely on their own. They're probably about your age, and they started out with dealer cars. They would go to a dealership. They would ask the dealer to loan them a car, probably for displaying a dealer logo somewhere in the background. And that's how they got started. They've done many reviews like that, and after about 2 years, they've been noticed by the press office of various importers in Poland, and now they're getting normal press fleet cars like I do. So yeah, you can do it like that, for example. Brian Ryu, what car company would you invest in or buy shares? Well, Brian Ryu, let me put it this way: whatever I invest in, sell instantly. I have bad luck when it comes to investment, so whenever I invest in something, usually the market crashes. So I think that's my advice for you. And last but not least, the Saint 491 Lexus RCF. What's your opinion? Well, I've seen it in the hands of the former Stig, Ben Collins, and it felt quite nimble. I couldn't say that it weighs 1800 kilograms from the passenger seat. You don't feel that. And I suppose if you're a good driver, you can do anything with it. What's the most disappointing car you drove over the last decade? Oh gosh, there were a couple of disappointments. There is a whole list actually of cars that turned out to be disappointments. The new Mercedes-Benz C-Class, World Car of the Year, that's been disappointing actually. I really liked the previous one, and the new one was a bit, I don't know, there was something wrong with it. I still don't really like it. The Renault Twingo turned out to be a total disappointment, the rear-wheel drive one, and my viewership statistics from YouTube show that people don't want to know about it. Seat Leon. Seat Leon, you've probably seen my reviews. I'm very disappointed because Seat became just another variation of Skoda, Volkswagen, whatever. It lost its flair, so that's a disappointment as well. Citroën DS. Citroën DS, especially the DS5. That's a huge disappointment, and I know there are many of you haters who tell me that there is a boot lid switch under the next to the license plate. Yes, now we found it. By the way, this is a time and place that I can say that at the time of the Polish launch event, we looked for the bloody boot lid button together with Citroën representatives, and we couldn't find it. Maybe it was added later on, maybe it was a so-called pre-production car and it didn't have it, I don't know. But generally, this Citroën DS5 is probably one of the biggest disappointments ever. It looks great, there are all the buttons, but they don't do shit. I mean, come on. I expected something like the, I don't know, like the CX or something like that. It was supposed to be great, and it wasn't. If I had to narrow it down, Citroën DS5, the biggest disappointment. Okay, so thanks a lot for all the questions. I hope I answered them reasonably well, that you're satisfied with the answers. If not, maybe I'll do it one more time again. Please don't share this video because it's probably boring, but if you would like to share some of my reviews with your friends, colleagues, whatever, maybe your enemies, but they are car fans, please do, because that's the way I can sort of grow and invest in better equipment, maybe even one day get someone to help me to do better videos. So thanks a lot for watching, subscribing, being with me, and yeah, cheers.